Christine, the Glambassador. So this week's video is not what I had planned to put out, but it is a really important subject to me. So I thought it would be great to go ahead and push it forward and really talk about the size inclusivity when it comes to vintage reproduction brands. I need to go grab some coffee, so I will be back in a moment and we'll have a chat. Okay, so I want to have a serious conversation about the plus size options within the vintage reproduction market. I hope this video can serve as some encouragement for all the plus size folks out there, but it is also a plea to the vintage reproduction brands who still, in the year 2020, do not offer inclusive sizes for such a large subsection of this beautiful vintage community. So this whole video is actually sparked by a conversation that I had in my vintage fashion group on Facebook. One of our members sent a message to a well-known vintage reproduction brand and wanted to know when or if they were going to be more size inclusive. And it just brought back memories of a time years ago when I did the same thing. I did this email campaign and I reached out to a bunch of different reproduction brands, including this one, asking the very same thing. And most either blew me off or, with no response at all, or they just placated me with, oh yes, that is absolutely something that we plan on doing in the future. But actually, some of the responses left me absolutely floored. Responses like, it costs too much to make plus-sized clothing because there's so much more fabric. Or, our clothes just won't suit a plus-size body. Plus-size clothes just don't sell. And the response I received from this particular company was, plus-size people just don't spend money on clothes. So I'd actually like to address a few of these comments. For the idea that plus-size clothing actually costs too much money to create, I get that. Yes, there is more fabric involved, but if you're making an extra small and you're also making a large, that's more fabric as well. I know that there's a lot more to it than just fabric, but you are the business owner and you set your prices. So set your prices to reflect the cost of your manufacturing. And the response that the clothes just won't suit us well, that's just horse. And truly, isn't that up for the consumer to decide? And plus size people don't spend money on clothes? Again, another asinine response. And trust me, my vast wardrobe would like to have a word with you on that. So speaking about spending money, the global plus size market is a $165 billion industry, and it's growing annually by 4%. The US market alone is $24 billion. So obviously we do spend money. I know that the vintage reproduction market is not the global fashion market as a whole, but to say that we don't spend money is just ludicrous. Plus size bodies require plus size clothes, period. A recent study published in the International Journal of Fashion Design, Technology, and Education reveals that the average size of American women is a Mrs. 16 to 18, which corresponds to a women's size 20. The average in the UK is equivalent to a US size 18. Yet only 8% of retailers offer inclusive sizing. 8%. Okay, and plus sizes don't sell. So I can actually see this as a valid concern and one that I've heard a lot from many different companies. But as a plus size woman myself and a marketing specialist, all I can say is, if you refuse to market to us, of course we're not going to buy your stuff. We don't know it exists. If you don't reach out to this section of your market and let us know that you have things to offer for us, how are we supposed to know? Let's say there's a restaurant that is known for their delicious burgers and meat offerings, and they decide they want to add vegetarian and vegan options, but they neglect to actually market to this subset of their food-eating customers. I can assure you that those vegetarians and vegans are not checking that restaurant's website weekly to find out if they have offerings for them now. No, that restaurant needs to market specifically to them to let them know that they now offer things for their specific needs. And to further this train of thought, if you don't represent plus-size bodies in your marketing, advertising, and social media, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. One of the many reasons that I actually started my blog 7 years ago was because I did not see representation of somebody that looked like me within the vintage community. I felt it was important to at least attempt to provide some representation for those plus-size people out there, to let them know that we do in fact exist and that we are beautiful and vintage garments look fantastic on us. Representation matters. Of course, there are vintage reproduction brands out there that are getting it right, and they are inclusive in their sizing, and they have representation. But there are so many more brands out there that could be doing better. One of the things I'd really like to see change is the size discrepancy for plus sizes, because there really is no universal size chart for brands to adhere to, and I've seen some insane ideas of what brands view as plus size. So generally, I fall on the very end of size charts for most brands. But in my wardrobe, I have sizes XL to 5XL, and they all fit me the same. That is crazy to me. It's also important for consumers to understand the differences between US, UK, EU, Australian, and Asian sizing. Especially, I think, between US and UK sizing, because they are deceptively similar. So in US sizes, I'm generally a 20 or a 2X, 2XL. But in UK sizes, I'm a 22 or 24 or 3X, 2X or 3X. So I don't really care what the number is in my clothing, to be honest. I don't put a value on myself based on the number. But when you have a company who claims that they carry plus sizes, that they are size inclusive, up to, say, 5XL, but those measurements, that 5XL, actually fits someone who's generally a 2XL like myself, that can create a lot of animosity and mistrust between the consumer and the company. Even sizing within brands sometimes can be quite off. I appreciate so much when brands offer an actual size chart with measurements for the items, just to help make sure that those garments are going to fit. But it is quite frustrating when a brand has different measurements for the same item, but they're different measurements based on fabric or even color options. Some brands I've noticed have a small run of plus size items, and some of them are generally not the same as their straight size counterparts. This could very well be the idea that those garments aren't just going to fit a plus size body. Plus size offerings in contemporary stores have historically been regulated to oversized tents with large floral prints and very matronly details. Please stop doing this. We want the same options as our straight size counterparts. We want pretty things too. But honestly, if companies really want to narrow down what the plus size customer wants, why not ask us? I am sure that many of us would be more than happy to sit down and be part of a market research project for you. Or contact me. I will put something together for you. Companies can find out what trends we want to see on ourselves and maybe get a better idea of our measurements to see where you can improve on your sizing to achieve your sales goals and make sure that those plus sizes actually get sold. Bring us into the conversation and let us know that you want us to be your customers, that you want us to be a part of this community. Because at this point, if you are missing out on a huge section of this market. And the fact is that we just want to cover our beautiful bodies in your beautiful garments. Look, I love this community with all my heart. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see the companies that are actually doing beautiful reproduction, vintage garments, and that are bringing us in the fold and being more size inclusive. When I started dressing in vintage almost 30 years ago, there was nothing. There was hardly anything out there for us. And I have had the honor to model for and collaborate with a lot of these companies who get it and value us as part of this community. And I really want to see more of that. I'm a business owner myself, and I want to support these businesses. Many of them are women owned, and I want to help them achieve their dreams as well. So let's start having this conversation amongst ourselves. I highly encourage you to speak up and reach out to those brands that of the aesthetic that you love so much, but that aren't size inclusive yet. And let them know that you're out there and that you want to be their customer. Of course, be kind and courteous, but be clear about the changes that you would like to see. Together, maybe we can expand our options for all the beautiful things out there. And we can actually support businesses who value us as members of this community. I've actually been working on a list of plus size inclusive companies. So I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments. Please let me know any companies that you've worked with, that you buy from. I'd love to add them all to my list, and I will put it up on my blog as soon as I'm done. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.